Alright, last one, guys.
What if every non-legendary and non-mythic Pokemon were dropped onto an island in a battle royale, Fortnite style? Who would win? Now, what if we also were to make it just a bit more scientifically accurate than Pokemon tends to be, and take everything the Pokedex says literally? After all, it's the Pokemon Encyclopedia.
And by the way, for those who haven't watched, you should also probably check out Dorkly's if Pokemon Dex entries were literal, because I love those videos too.
Of the Pokemon world, so being Pokedex accurate is essentially the same thing as being scientifically accurate. It's not like the Pokedex was written by kids or anything. And so the first thing we figured out when starting this whole project was which Pokemon would actually survive until the end. Seems odd to start with the end, but that's what we did. After all, there are like 8 million Pokemon. So we figured out the ones that are the most likely to win and worked our way sort of backwards. Basically, all of the fighting you see before the massive purple explosion is to make the video more interesting and hilarious. Meaning, of course, all the Pokemon who survived it are the ones that actually have a high chance of winning, all depending on other circumstances. But let's go ahead and cover this from the beginning, now that that's explained and out of the way. So the first interesting Pokedex tidbit is with Absol, which has the ability to foretell the coming of disasters with its horn. So of course, it's here, freaking out about the soon-to-be battle to the death of itself, and all the Pokemon around it. We then see it get hit by Machamp and flung off the island, followed by several others. So hands down, all 4 of them, Machamp is one of the most overpowered Pokemon in existence. Not only is it stated to have mastered every fighting style, but it can punch any victim clear across the horizon according to the Pokedex. Given the curvature of the Earth, for an average 6-foot person, the horizon is about 3 miles away. Though of course the higher up you go, the further you can see. But this means that Machamp can launch things past that, and that's just the minimum horizon. And that's not even all. On top of this insane strength, it can punch 500 times a second! What? No wonder it's so strong and has so much force behind its punches. To be that fast already implies a ridiculous amount of strength and an insane amount of G's being applied from the sheer speed alone, let alone the strength that's behind it. So obviously Machamp's kill-to-death ratio is insane. And of course, any Pokemon, upon witnessing the sheer power of a Machamp with a literal Pokedex, it'd be intimidated, clearly. Especially a poor little Pokemon like Magikarp. So this Magikarp, of course, gets scared and leaps incredibly high. People often make fun of Magikarp, as it's garbage. But according to the Pokedex, they can actually leap over mountains. What the heck? Though it doesn't specify any specific mountain. But considering the ridiculous nature of Pokemon, let's just go ahead and say Mount Everest. That means Magikarp can leap at least 29,000 feet into the air. Dang! In the next scene, we see Wailord, the biggest Pokemon there is, and fun fact, if Wailord were real, it would be the 6th largest animal to walk or swim the earth. It's a blue whale, after all. But get this, according to the Pokedex, it is 47 feet long and weighs 877 pounds. Now, I'll spare you the mathematical details, I'll have a video all about those here later, but we figured out the volume and the density of a Wailord, and long story short, it's not only impossible to submerge a Wailord, but it's lighter than air. It's a big blimp, and would rise up, and up, and up in a scientifically accurate world. All the way up to the higher atmosphere, which is probably out of bounds, disqualifying it. Not that its disqualification matters, though, because it gets taken out by what is, hands down, very likely to be the most overpowered electric-type Pokemon there is. The Pokedex states that Electivire can send 20,000 volts of electricity into its foes, though that information is completely meaningless. Volts don't really measure power so much. It's complicated, but I did do this video explaining all of the complexities of Electivire. But basically, the number sounds high, but without the watts or amps, it could be anywhere from actually insanely catastrophic to... Ow, that hurt a little bit. But then, another Pokedex entry clears some things up. It states that a single Electivire can provide enough electricity for all of the buildings in a big city for a year. God. What? It's So, so how big is a big city? It probably doesn't mean Tokyo, a mega metropolis, maybe not even like New York City, or maybe not even like San Francisco or Seattle. If you ask me, a Pacific Northwest pride jerk like the rest of all of us here, I feel like Portland, Oregon would be a good minimum city to look at. It's the biggest city in Oregon, and definitely a big city, but not a huge one. So Portland, Oregon uses about 12,000 kilowatt hours a year, or 38.8 a day. I'll spare you the complicated details, but again, they're here. But this basically means that Electivire is a small lightning storm, as one lightning bolt can contain 1,400 kilowatt hours worth of electricity. But Electivire can choose where the lightning goes, giving it insane power. And summoning that much power in one place would only attract a real lightning storm to occur, of which Electivire can probably control. And note, again, this is on the very, very low end. If you go to the opposite extreme of a big city like Tokyo, which is a traditional big city for those living in Japan, like Pokemon's developers, we're now looking at, instead of 12,000, 14 billion. So, that's the range we're dealing with here. Electivire is insane. If Portland, Oregon, a small, big...
Whoa, 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 whoa. What was that number? Wait a second. What was that number we just saw?
Pokemon's developers, we're now looking at, instead of 12,000, 14 billion.
What the fludge? That Electivire is beast mode strong. Like, bruh, I'm kind of feeling bad I've never actually done a run through with freaking Electivire now. I might actually have to do a playthrough with this man. Assuming he's even available to use in Sword and Shield. If not, then I'll just have to play one of the older games. But, bruh. Wow. Okay, let's move on now, guys.
So, that's the range we're dealing with here. Electivire is insane. If Portland, Oregon, a small, big city, is a small lightning storm, just try to guess what Tokyo is. So if Electivire got mad enough, it could also get an insane KD, just by summoning a lightning storm of insane power, and basically taking out every water type in the nearby sea, and all of the flying types in the air. And that's what it does. God. Just think of the smell. Ugh. Now just imagine being a being with a nose 100 million times better than that of a human. That's Slurpuff for you.
Dang.
For context, dogs have 300 million scent receptors in their noses, while humans only have 6 million. But Slurpuff's difference. Pokemon are insane! And stupid. This would mean that Slurpuff has around 600 trillion scent receptors, compared to humans' 6 million. It's really no wonder that it dies upon just smelling Garbodor melting into muck. Both smell so bad that they can cause fainting. Also, the Pokedex points out that muck is the natural enemy to Garbodor, so that's why it's attacking. It also states that muck is so toxic that a single touch is all it takes to kill plants instantly, and the path it walks becomes barren of plant life for 3 years. Alakazam just blows the minds of the Hitmons, brain over brawn to the max. Now then, few Ice-type Pokemon can match the insane freezing power of a Glalie, which, as the Pokedex explains, can instantly freeze moisture in the atmosphere, and that it uses that power to freeze its foes solid. To do this in a reasonable amount of time, you would need some intense wind chill at less than negative 879 degrees Fahrenheit, which is these and the other temperatures, but you know, America to the end. Of course, anything organic upon becoming frozen solid becomes brittle, hence Squirtle and Muck shattering. Here's a
funny thing is, usually I always use Fahrenheit unless I'm talking about above boiling or below freezing. If I'm talking about below freezing or above boiling, I always use Celsius, but otherwise I use Fahrenheit. Because at that point I'm like, it doesn't even matter. The point is, it's below freezing or above boiling. I want you to understand how below freezing. And usually those are the only times you use Celsius. in America that I know of, is for science, and science usually is for the purpose of describing things at those extremes.
One satellite falls into Metang, who doesn't even care, because according to the Pokedex, Metang can withstand a jet crashing into it and not even get a scratch. Holy butts. Also, how do they know that? Also, it loves to pursue Nosepass because they love magnetism. It gets them off. Did you know that anyone who grabs the hilt of a Honage will have their soul removed from their body? Now you do. Also, Delibird, but no amount of shielded arms or back could protect you from a Blastoise cannon, which can pierce right through concrete walls and thick sheets of steel.
I know that one.
Making them like the water jets used to cut steel, which are typically put under 30 to 90,000 psi. Insane, and very capable of destroying a building at any given time. But did you know that apparently Charizard's fire breath, according to the Pokedex, is hot enough to melt literally anything? That's what it says.
Literally anything?
Even Blastoise would be no match for flames of that temperature. So here's a fun duel. Infernape, Samurott, and Decidueye, 3 of the most skilled starter Pokemon there are. Decidueye is accurate enough to pierce a pebble over 100 yards away with its arrows.
Nice.
And it's cool enough to actually pull off dabbing. That's basically what archery is. It's dabbing before you kill someone, you know? Also, Decidueye can knock and fire an arrow in 1/10 of a second. So its battles are decided in the blink of an eye. So clearly it's the victor in this duel, right? No. As it's dueling against the wrong Pokemon, Samurott can draw, attack, and sheathe its swords in less than a blink of an eye as well. So it's just as fast. Also, Infernape has insane agility and martial arts skills using every limb. According to the Pokedex, no Pokemon can match its quickness, meaning it's also quicker than Samurott and wins that duel as well. So Tyranitar is insane, and could very easily win this Battle Royale given the right circumstances. After all, according to the Pokedex, it just knocks over mountains. And it just can't be harmed by any sort of attack. Just no pain. Its armor is good enough so that no damage can happen to it whatsoever.
Wait, which Pokedex entry says
That doesn't mean
this?
it can't be launched far away off the island, thus disqualified. Oh, but here comes Arcanine. According to the Pokedex, anyone that hears its bark can't help but grovel at it. Bork, attack. Biff, attack. It's quite the winning strategy. But sound can't travel past a black hole, and Gardevoir can make those apparently. It just unleashes its psychokinetic energy at full power.
That's my girl.
It just
Or
twists
boy.
some dimensions and boom, black holes everywhere. Oh. But black holes don't matter to a ghost like Dusclops, whose inner body is said to be hollow and like a black hole. It can suck things up and they never, ever come out. And theoretically, upon eating all of the black holy mass, it would get bigger. So that happens. Which Pokemon could actually survive the Magcargo explosion? Since those would be the only ones with any chance to win it all. So here's a scientific bit. Magcargo is said to be 18,000 degrees, nearly twice as hot as the surface of the sun, which is insane, but not as crazy as many people think it is. We did a video.
Didn't I just say twice as hot as the sun? The Fludge? Then how is anyone even alive in the Pokemon world? Obviously, he has a video explaining that I see now, but the Fludge?
I keep pointing. But if Magcargo isn't actually all that dangerous, then why does it create a huge shockwave of death that wipes out the island? Well, because realistically, releasing a Pokemon from a Pokeball is converting energy into mass. And heat, hot energy, has a lot to do with that. Releasing any Pokemon from a Pokeball would realistically create a shockwave. But when all the Pokemon are coming down at the same time, they'd likely be fine. The shockwaves are just going all over the place, the Pokemon are still just being converted, so, you know. Also, if they all just blew each other away, it'd be like a 2-second video, that's no fun. But Magcargo's shockwaves specifically would be crazy because of its insane heat that's completely throughout its whole body. Ridiculous. This shockwave takes out basically the last bit of HP most Pokemon have, and any that survive are still blasted off of the island. All besides a few. Spiritomb is made up of 108 evil souls bound to a keystone, and the keystone, upon being destroyed, releases them all. The evilest of souls. Wobbuffet is able to counter anything, so it reflects the massive shockwave right back at Magcargo. But it still takes the damage, and doesn't make it. As you can see, the tail just left. Now, we're just down to the Pokemon that could withstand the hot shockwave. Mr. Mime is capable of making barriers by minutely vibrating its fingertips to stop molecules in the air. Yeah, you heard that right. And because it's not just 0 Kelvin ice powers, that just means that Mr. Mime has some ridiculous psychic ability. Anyway, it does so, and now it's the Ghost's turn. Gengar and Dusknoir, the ghostliest of the ghosts. They begin to consume the remains of the Psychic-type Pokemon. The intelligent Alakazam knows that it has no chance of winning if it doesn't retreat, so it goes to meditate in the sky. Mr. Mime's barrier doesn't matter to a ghost like Gengar, which just consumes souls willy-nilly, lurking in the shadows and causing its victims to shake. But Gengar is also Poison-type, weak to ground, and Dugtrio comes in, popping out of the ground at the speed of light, which is all it takes to really defeat Gengar. Dusknoir then finishes them off and takes them to the spirit realm inside of its body, much like a previous evolution of it. It's just filled with a void. Death to all. Dusknoir is insane. But none of this matters, as Magikarp is now falling back down from its crazy leap earlier. This is the funny part we were talking about. Taking out Alakazam and Dusknoir, because after all, a fall from that sort of height would be landing at 400 Gs of force. And typically it only takes maybe 60 Gs to kill a person, so... Death by Magikarp. And then, death by Magikarp again! Oh wait, it's Ditto. Ditto may have won this particular instance of our Pokemon Fortnite Battle Royale.
My only question about this, since you talk about out of bounds, so is there no limit to space being out of bounds?
To the higher atmosphere.
Okay.
Which is probably out of bounds, disqualifying it. It can't be launched far away off the island, thus disqualified.
Am I the only one who thought about this? That's my only question. Since you talk about things being out of bounds, how is like going out into space not out of bounds for regular Pokemon? Now, for legendaries, I understand, but rather there wasn't out of bounds for legendaries or not, but which I don't think there was. So, but for regular Pokemon, if they're off the islands out of bounds, why is not space out of bounds? Like, was there no position in space of being too far? Wouldn't it be like a, you know what, screw it. I'm not finna even get into that. That's the only issue I have with your whole out of bounds, using the term out of bounds, is the fact that you did not, you know what, screw it. It's not even worth it. Okay, well, that was fun. But yeah, I really like that. And honestly, I feel like Ditto probably is the best option regardless, just because, like you said, you can transform to whatever he needs in whatever situation. Unless we're saying Ditto can't untransform, like, you know, when you're in the middle of a battle, like in the games. Unless he can't untransform. But if he can just keep transforming to whatever Pokemon he wants throughout it, then yeah, Ditto has it. That's a wrap, my guy. Just saying. That's over. But yeah, I really like that. That was really good. Yeah, I really recommend their channel. Check them out. Watch their stuff. It's really good, honestly.